If you ever got deja vu while playing Look Outside, don't worry, it's not deja vu. It's a reminder that you looked ugly when you hit puberty and it hurt when people looked at you. I don't remember the last time I got hooked into a game like this, when you have to move your daily schedules and routines and find more time to play a game. For me, Look Outside is easily the best title of this year so far, and one of the most fun ever. It's easy to make an immersive game when it has hyper-real graphics that looks exactly like the real world. Well, it's not easy, but you know what I mean. But when in a pixel art game, the plot, world building, characters and music fit so well, that is what I call real immersion. When it doesn't look like the real world at all, but convinces you it is. The legend of Medusa has been depicted a lot in the media. When even the simple act of looking at something is lethal, how can you make contact or better yet, fight it off? At first glance, it seems that Look Outside is another attempt to solve this dilemma. But when you get sucked into its minimal claustrophobic world, other philosophical topics will emerge that add psychological horrors to your existing physical ones. Like the French sociologist Jean Baudrillard's preoccupation. If there's no way to distinguish real from fake anymore, does authenticity even mean anything? Not if the game won't force you to choose the real Frederick, and even rewards you for siding with most of the paintings. Or how in the face of justification for war and self-righteousness, good and evil will lose meaning, in a war where no one even remembers what he was fighting for. You can't even separate each side of the war, they all look the same now. Let's back up a little. What is Look Outside even about? What is it trying to say? For that, we need to look inside apartment 33, where a middle-aged, unemployed, secluded man named Sam wakes up in his bed. Upon waking up, a feeling tempts Sam to go to his window and look outside. That's also what his neighbor Sybil tells him through a crack in the wall. Not the best way to use a glory hole if you ask me. If you go through with it and look outside, this happens and the game is over. So your whole purpose is to not look outside. Something terrible is out there and you should avoid it. If we take a look into Sam's life, a lonely middle-aged man, unattractive, addicted to video games, basically a Discord mod, we realize the whole plot of this game is a metaphor for socially isolated people. Or if we take it a little further, a hikikomori. Hikikomori refers to a group of people, usually young men, who have completely separated themselves from the real world to the point where they won't leave their home up to 6 months. That's Look Outside for you. A comical contrast of what it feels like to be that guy. To be afraid to look outside because the world outside is scary, full of monsters and aliens. Of course, as darkness doesn't mean anything without light, loneliness wouldn't mean anything without the other existing theme of the game, friendship. Since the world you know and fear doesn't exist anymore, you need to look for means to survive in your own apartment. You need to go out. One thing that I like is when a piece of art avoids being judgmental towards its audience. The game won't force you to actually go outside and face whatever's out there. You can stay in your apartment for 15 days as Sybil mentioned before, wait it out by doing absolutely nothing, by being the good old Sam. But out there, into those hallways, horror and danger are waiting for you, and so are people. Strangers waiting to know and befriend you, not only through storytelling, but the game also uses its gameplay to show the importance of meeting other people. Look Outside is a really tough play, until people start joining your party. The moment you're not alone is the moment you're not weak anymore. Even though some would say it's just bad difficulty flow, I think it's a nice touch. I mean, if an element is going to be poor, it can at least serve a purpose. Finding friends of course isn't as simple as it would have been in a normal world. When every now and then you face so many two-faced liars who take advantage of your trust, when the whole founding pillars of this game are made of suspicion and doubt, how can you find a friend between all these monsters and people who've been pushed into madness? Who can you trust anymore to let into your apartment? What if they lure you into a trap? What if they have already looked outside, metamorphosed and have shady plans of their own? Well, the game will take this into account too. You face characters who look absolutely malevolent and evil, yet if you take the time to talk to them, if you indicate signs of trust, you find great companions. Of course, being gullible has its own punishment. You can't just trust anybody. Anyway, after a while, that lonely apartment turns into one of Gaspar Noé's movie sets. Absolute chaos. And in the middle of all this horror and destruction and ruin, when death awaits your windows, as you look into the mirror, you feel good. You feel alive. And then there's the ending to take into account. Jump to this timecode if you haven't finished the game yet and want to avoid the spoilers. In one of the perfect ritual endings, one that many consider the best outcome, the last 3 dialects to appear are this: You are surrounded by friends. It feels good. You are happy. That's all there is. Friendship, not in an anime definition that has been memed enough already, but that you don't have to go through this alone. Sure, it might hurt, but there's no shame in seeking help. It makes you very happy. At the beginning of the video, we talked about Medusa, how the obstacles of making a connection can lead to misunderstanding and often to violence. That's how Attack on Titan came into life. Isayama was working in an internet cafe when a drunk customer attacked him, and he couldn't sort it out by simply talking. Look outside, take this question a step further. What if the alien we're unable to contact with can't even make a connection with itself? What if it's not even aware of its own existence, has never looked into a mirror? Sure, if this really is an introvert's world brought to life, figures the visitor to be the final boss, the ultimate nightmare of an introvert, talking to someone who can't even understand its own language. Not getting so far away from the topic, empathy has always been a curiosity for me. Have you ever thought about if we humans could ever understand how the other person is actually feeling? You see someone set on fire. Sure, it looks painful, but can you actually feel it? Or a simpler example, imagine seeing someone touching the water. Unlike grass, you do know what it feels like to touch water, but you do not know what that person is feeling. Is the water cold or warm? What if they have a wound on their hand and water makes it hurt? How can we really understand what it feels like to be if we can't be that person? This conundrum makes the difference between the two perfect ritual endings. The ones who have seen both know what I mean by that. I'm almost done, except for two things. One detail that I really love is that when it comes to random NPCs, they all turn into random monsters after looking at the visitor. But the ones who did it purposely, the ones who were actually looking for him, they turned into the very tool they were using to look. Edwin turned into a stargazer, a set of telescopes. Frederick's paintings escaped their canvases, and even Fred himself wasn't left alone. If you take a close look, even the real Fred looks like a painting now. Security guy has turned into CCTV monitors. The writer has turned into a typewriter. So it really was about making genuine connection. How using indirect approaches will make it worse. The second thing I want to talk about is the music. I know this video is a subtext analysis, but oh my god, the music in this game is at another level. It's one thing to have great soundtracks, quite another to have all of them actually fit the theme and hit the right place. The most genius of which, Landlord's Apartment. Using Air Raid Siren as a part of the soundtrack? What can I say except... Anyway, that's all I had to say. As always, if you found it helpful or interesting, any support is appreciated, even as small as hitting the like button and subscribe. Thank you, and don't you dare go hollow.